a secret recipe from a dark time, a Pastel de Nata debate, and eating the pineapple core? This week, it's Maria Lawton, the Azorean green bean from the TV show Maria's Portuguese Table.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is the place for foodies who like to travel and travelers who like to eat. And this week, my guest is best-selling cookbook author, TV host, podcaster, and travel guru, Maria Lawton. But first, if you like food and travel, be sure to share the podcast with your friends and social media. It will really help me get the show to grow. And also consider a one-time or recurring contribution to Destination Eat Drink at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. And thank you very, very much. Maria Lawton is known as the Azorean green bean. She's the creator and host of the PBS TV show Maria's Portuguese Table. Maria is also the author of the cookbook Azorean Cooking. Her second cookbook, At My Portuguese Table, is coming out on November 13th, and you can pre-order it now. Maria also hosts a podcast called Married to Portuguese with her husband, Bob Lawton. Both Bob and Maria were in Lisbon, and we got together for lunch at a restaurant called Choo Choo for a nice meal and conversation. Maria tells me about an incredible wine experience in Alentejo, Portugal. She also tells me about fermenting wine in clay vessels and some of the recipes in her new cookbook. We also talk about our favorite places for Pastel de Natas in Lisbon. And spoiler alert, we don't agree. Maria also shares the scary story of outrunning the wildfires in Portugal. And just so you know, we recorded this episode outside at Restaurant Choo Choo, so you're going to hear some street noise. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Maria Lawton, the Azorean green bean. Bob Lawton, Mr. Azorean green bean? I don't know. Okay. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink in person.
In person in Portugal.
How great is this?
How great is this?
This is one of my favorite ways to do the podcast. Now, I've had you on several times, and it's always been a blast. But when I get to do these in person, I've only been able to do a few, some with people who live in Portugal.
Yep.
But when I get guests who come to Portugal, that's the most exciting. I had Rob Rose here probably almost 3 years ago now when we had first moved to Portugal. He does the show Raw Travel on television.
Okay.
We did a show with him. And then Michela Malazzi, who you know.
I love her.
She's the best.
Oh my God, she is just the best.
She's been to Lisbon twice.
Has she really?
And we've done the podcast twice with her. So
yeah.
So welcome. It's great to have you. I love doing it in this format.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. You know, it's funny. We talk back and forth, and I follow you on everything and your newsletter and all of that fun stuff. And you said the next time you're in Portugal, you've got to let me know. And we'll see if we can get together. So I am so glad. It's really my last full day.
Yes.
Because I leave tomorrow.
Well, it's, and it's really interesting to me because you are Portuguese through and through. Like 100%. Can't be anymore. You don't have to do 23andMe because it's all Portuguese.
It is.
But this is your first time to the mainland.
Yes. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And so I'm really fascinated and interested in what your impressions are as a person who's coming here for the first time, who actually is Portuguese, though.
Right. Well, I can trace my roots back to like 1746 or 47 to the Trás-os-Montes area. That was my maternal side of the family. So I always had it in my head that I would go up north and try to retrace my family roots on one side of the family. So I know they started there, then they went to the Algarve, and then from the Algarve they split, and my family went to Santa Maria, which was the first island that was inhabited. And then my great-grandparents, I think it was my great-great-great-grandparents, they went from, no, my grandparents. That's it. They're the ones who ended up going from Santa Maria to San Miguel. And then my grandmother, my mother, me, we were all born in San Miguel. So to come back here, and we started in Porto. We went from Porto, we went to the Douro. Oh my God.
So beautiful, right?
It was gorgeous. Guimarães, I think, for those...
everyone's favorite.
Oh my God.
When people go there, they're like, oh my God.
Favorites. It's one of my favorites. I love Douro. I loved Douro. And did I say I love Douro?
Yes.
Yeah. And, but I love... I'm going to mess it up here. Guimarães was breathtaking in the sense that is the birth of Portugal. It was right there. The epicenter of it all was there. And you could feel it. You could feel the importance of it all. It was like I kind of stood up really tall when I was walking through that area.
There is a palpable sense of pride in that city.
Yes, there is. And I'm so glad you said that because I felt that way. I felt like when I was there, I'm like, gosh, darn it, I'm Portuguese. And I really loved this spot. The spot was gorgeous. It was just gorgeous. And then from there, I mean, we were supposed to go to, we went to Braga. That was great. But I still love Guillermo. I love the other one better. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Braga. And it was pretty. But then that's when all the wildfires started. We were in Braga and we were having our lunch and our almoço. And we'd look up and we're like, oh my goodness, there's fire happening. So we're talking to the merchants that are there and saying, are you going to be okay? We can see the fire from afar. And they're like, oh no, this happens all the time. It gets colder at night. The firemen will take it, they'll get rid of it. Tomorrow there'll be nothing. So we go back to our hotel, and then the next day we were supposed to leave and go to Coimbra. And we couldn't go to Coimbra because all roads were all closed. Everything was closed.
Wow.
And so we went from plan A to plan B, C, D, because every route we were trying to take to leave, they were closing them all up. And I think I mentioned to you prior to us recording this, it was one of the scariest moments in my life.
Yeah.
It really was the scariest thing.
I saw the video that you posted on social media. I was like, it
was frightening.
It is terrifying. I mean, you were going through black smoke.
Yes,
really.
Yes. You could, for New Englanders or people who have snow, and they call it a whiteout, where you cannot see your hand in front of you because of so much snow and all of that. It was the same thing, but with smoke. You could not see in front of you,
and you don't know what's on the other side of it.
No. And I heard, I have really amazing fans and followers. I really do. So I was getting private messages from people like, Maria, please stay safe. Are you safe? Let us know you're safe, because they knew we were traveling through Portugal. And when I shared the video saying this is what we went through, we're safe now. I got some other private messages going, what did you do? You shouldn't have done that. And I'm going to repeat what I told them, and that is, we had authorities that told us this is your only way out.
Yeah, they were shuttling you through.
They were shuttling us through, and they said you're going to hit some smoke, but just keep going. But it was we drove through flames to either side of the bus. I have 20 people with me on this tour, including my husband Bob here, and we're sitting in the very front, and I think he has a bruised knee and thigh because my hand, I had to stay calm and collect, because I feel that it is that responsibility of mine to make sure that everyone who's traveling with me is safe. That's number one above anything else.
Sure.
So I had to stay calm. But deep down inside, folks, I was screaming inside, going, oh my God, I want to get the hell out of here. Like now, right now.
Right.
And it was scary.
So you had an iron grip on Bob's knee?
Yeah. He has a mark on his knee right now. It's bruised from going, oh my goodness, what are we going to do here?
Oh, jeez.
But our driver that we had, his name is José. And at the end, we were all, because he was the most calm, cool, collect person. And he said, it's okay. We're going to get through it. It might be a little scary, but we're going to do it. It's okay. And then when we got past, Bob like stopped recording, but our whole bus, he went, we're done. We're safe. And we're all like, yay!
Oh,
like,
man.
You know, oh my goodness.
That must have been amazing.
Oh, it was relief. It was relief.
Sure.
And to know that we were past that. But it was also heartbreaking for all of us to see the fires on TV, to see the people that perished, because we were in it.
Yeah.
We were in it. We were surrounded by it. So, and we would drive by and the people are like outside their homes, and it was heartbreaking. It was just heartbreaking.
2 years ago, we had wildfires not too far from us, like the next town up from our city, which is 3 miles away. So it's close.
Right.
I'm looking out the window of our apartment, and the sky is red.
Yeah.
And I can see the embers glowing, and it's scary, man. But we're right on the water. And what the Portuguese, I guess the firefighting department or the military or something, they were flying planes and skimming over the water, picking it up, and then going and dumping it on the wildfire. And you mentioned before that you went to Piloto, which is one of my favorite wineries in that city.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed or not, but right up to their wall, everything is charred and burned, or at least, it still is. I was there recently. It's charred and burned, and it stopped basically at their wall. Otherwise, their vineyard would have been completely lost. They had to evacuate and everything.
We got there at Quinta do Piloto for a sunset. And so it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see that. I didn't notice the charred, but that would make perfect sense. I mean, so what we did, instead of going to Coimbra, we went to the Alentejo a little bit sooner. But I say a little bit sooner, it took us, we had to go around the fire.
Right.
So we had to drive up to almost Spain, the border of Spain, to go. I mean, it was a 4-hour up to Spain and then coming down. It was a very long day. It was a very long day. And when we got to Torre de Palma in the Alentejo, which is this amazing wine hotel, which I'm going to tell everyone about because it is in the middle of nowhere in Alentejo, but it is worth the drive to get there. It is out of this world.
Yeah, because I'd never heard of it.
Oh my goodness, you need to go. You need to go. It is a wine hotel. They grow their, they have their vineyards there. They have their olive groves. That's where I did a video showing the olives. And then we did olive oil tastings. And, of course, lots of wine tastings there. They have horses for those that want to ride horses. They have bikes if you want to ride bikes. They have this beautiful Roman ruins, just 10-minute walk down the road from Torre de Palma. And it was, okay, let's just put it this way. There is so many Roman ruins throughout Portugal that Portugal goes, there's another one.
Right.
And
it's
here
so
I
true.
am. And here I am as, going, we've got Roman ruins. Why isn't this boarded? You can't come in. No, they were like, go examine it. Go. I'm like, I can get up close. I can actually touch it. And they're like, oh, yeah, just go in there. You can walk around. And I'm thinking, this would never be possible in the United States.
Yeah.
We would be charged, number one, to walk even in. We weren't. It was like, come on in.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to you briefly, there was a baptismal font there that they've only excavated out 2 of them in the whole world. There's only 2 of these type of baptismal fonts because originally it was also, besides being Roman and pagan, there was a temple there, and then it became Christian. So it was like a few things going on there. And you literally, that baptismal font is in the shape of a cross. And in the wintertime, the rain would fill up the font, and you would walk. They had 2 steps to either side of the cross to go into it. like a bathtub. Like you walk into
wow.
it, and then you would lay back, and your arms would go where that cross is,
right.
and you would be baptized in it. So now it's covered, and it doesn't get filled with water and all of that. But to be there and see it and know that the only other one in this world is in Jerusalem.
Oh.
And the other one is in Alentejo,
Yeah.
10-minute walk from Torre de Parma.
Right.
I mean, how could you... And you could just walk in.
Alentejo is pretty incredible, and it's one of those places that is kind of overlooked
Yes.
when people come to Portugal.
And I don't know why.
But it's kind of a different place.
Yes.
You know, it's very different than the rest of Portugal.
The topography is different.
It's different, different topography, different weather, and
Very beige.
it's very rural. It's
Very beige.
Yeah, very beige. But there's incredible winemaking in Alentejo.
The wine was incredible.
Next time you come, we'll go to a little village in Alentejo called Cuba, and they still make wine in the clay pots.
So does Torre de Parma. They also have them in clay pots. And I guess they also have the tanks, the oak tanks, but as well as stainless steel, but they also do it in the large clay vessels, which I didn't realize. I learned more about drinking wine out of clay vessels when I was on the island of Terceira. They make these cups using the mother clay, which is from Santa Maria. That is the mother clay. It is the oldest island. So I think it's 3 million years old. And they use some of that clay along with the clay of Terceira, and they make these drinking vessels.
Oh, cool.
And so the gentleman that I was with, he said, have you ever had wine out of clay? Have you ever drank wine out of a clay vessel? And I went, no. And he goes, oh, you need to do that. So both Bob and I have these clay vessels. And one of the things we did when we got home was like, we've got to pour wine on it, and we've got to have it. And we're like, okay, this is what my ancestors did.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you taste any difference to it?
The way that the vessel is set up, it aerates your wine. So, and I mean, wine is delicious. So it was different. It was very different. I was very glad. But when I mentioned it to the gentleman at Torre de Parma, he's like, yeah, it makes a difference. That is the traditional way of drinking wine.
Yeah.
Is out of a clay vessel.
Because I find the ones that have been aged in clay tend to have more of a minerality to them, because the clay obviously is porous.
Yes.
You know, so it imparts some of that flavor to it, which is interesting.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
Really, really cool.
Absolutely.
So you've been you just got into Lisbon, really? I mean, what, yesterday or something? Maybe
the day before.
Okay.
Yesterday we were in Belém.
Okay.
We were in Belém yesterday.
Did all that good stuff.
We did all that good stuff.
Geronimo's, did you go to?
We did. We did. And we also, the big thing that I wanted to say on this tour was, okay, I need to taste the top 3 Pastel de Nata.
Okay, this is what I want to talk about.
Okay, let's get to the nitty gritty right here. And I went, okay, you come to Portugal, we have so many amazing sweets, but all we hear back in the United States, Pastel de Nata, Pastel de Nata, Pastel de Nata. It's almost like that's the only thing we make. And it's like, it's had its moment, or it's still having its moment on Instagram and TikTok and all of that stuff. But there's a lot more, folks. But there's a lot more. But
every town has its own.
Has their own specialty, their own dessert, their own thing. And you can't just come here and just say, I want a Pastel de Nata. That's not it. If you're thinking of just a Pastel de Nata, I don't know, guys. Open up to more. But I wanted to try 3. The 3 that always would come up as the 3 to try.
All right, let's see if I agree with you.
Okay. Castro's was one.
Okay, not familiar.
Belém, of course. We had to have the original.
Which, okay, we'll talk about that.
And then the 3rd was Mantegueira.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So those 3 were the ones that I had the most of people telling me, you've got to try these. So when we were in Porto, we did Castro.
Oh, that's why I'm not familiar with it.
There's one here.
Oh, there is.
We found a little one. It was like tucked away behind something here in Lisbon.
Okay.
We were like, oh, there's Castro here too. We could have done all 3 here.
Okay.
And so, okay, except Belém.
Now I have to interrupt here because folks should know that you, in the States, you judged a Pastel de Nata
Yes,
contest.
I did.
So you speak from a place of authority on this subject.
Thank you for saying that. I do have that authority over it, don't I? Because I tasted many natas to say which one tastes the best. It was Goulart Square, by the way. And so in all that, we tried Castro's. And so it was like, okay, there's a crunch, very, very overfilled and creamy, had a vanilla kind of taste to the cream. So I thought, oh, okay, overfilled. I thought it was a little bit overfilled with the cream. A little less cream would have been fine with me. It was too much, I thought. But the flavor was delicious. Then yesterday we did Belém.
Right.
So you cannot call it Pastel de Nata in Belém. If you ask for Pastel de Nata in Belém, they're going to say there is none. We don't sell any.
Right.
You have to specifically ask for a Pastel de Belém, and that is the only way you're going to get it. So we go in.
It's the only place that's allowed to call it this.
That is the only place that's allowed to call it that. So we sat down. We actually went in. We stayed in line. We sat down. We had it, and okay, we're going to be honest here?
Of course, because I'm going to be honest and tell you what I think of it.
I was disappointed.
Okay.
I thought the outside shell was too hard.
Okay.
It was crunchy. It had a definite crunch, but I think they overbaked it because when I flipped it over, it was a little burnt.
Yeah, yeah.
So either they're doing it too fast or they're not, because the lines were crazy.
Right.
So I thought it wasn't like I was expecting to be wowed, but I wasn't wowed.
So here's my thing about theirs, and yes, they cook the crust a little bit more. I avoided going there for probably the first 2 years that we were here. Didn't go there when we first came to Portugal, when we came to visit, and didn't go there when we came here to live because I was afraid it was a tourist trap. And I went in with that expectation when we went the first time. And with that extremely low bar, I thought they cleared it by a mile. I really have enjoyed their Pastel de Nata, especially when they're fresh out of the oven and the custard is still warm.
And see, we had it fresh out of the oven. It was warm. The inside was delicious. The outside, I think they overdid it.
Okay.
So I got a dud, guys. I got a dud.
Okay.
Because it was burned in the bottom and it was so hard. It was actually like a hard.
Yeah.
But the flavor was delicious.
You want crispiness. You don't want to be biting into it like with your teeth.
Correct. So today we did Mantegueira.
Okay. And this is probably the second most famous in Lisbon.
Correct. And I really loved it. It had the crunch. It had the creamy. It wasn't over creamed. It wasn't like too much. So I would go as that one is my favorite.
So now I'll tell you where my favorite place is.
Okay.
Up in the Santo Antonio neighborhood, there's a place called Pasteleria Santo Antonio.
Oh.
And couple years, probably in 2019, they have their own Pastel de Nata throwdown here in Lisbon.
Of course they do.
And they won it.
They won it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And every year this is a big deal here in Lisbon. And this place is fantastic. Their Pastel de Nata, in my opinion, my humble opinion, are the best.
Those are the ones.
Those are the ones.
I'm saying what my favorite was. You just said Bob, what was your favorite?
Oh boy! So
put him on the spot.
Pastel de Nata, it's like saying, the saying there's no bad pizza, right? So there's no bad natas.
That's true.
Or Belēms, right? To be clear, today's was my favorite.
The Mantegueira.
The Mantegueira was my favorite. Small disclaimer though, today I had it with cinnamon, not powdered sugar, and that kind of changed the flavor. I thought the custard of all three, whether it was Castro or Belém or today, I thought the custards were all great. For me, the difference was the crust. And the Belém crust yesterday was, to your point, Brent, we were biting through it with our teeth. It wasn't as light and flaky as we wanted.
Yeah.
So we've got to go back at some point and try the Belēms.
Yes, again.
Again.
We have to do it again.
Give him a second chance.
Yeah, because we got a dud. We got a couple of duds.
Yeah.
Even though they were warm. I mean, how can you... Exactly. You're Bob. You're right. I mean, there is no such thing as a bad nata. There really isn't. Because it's delicious. But if we're going to compare to say which one I would go and have another one again, right now I would have the Monteguera again. I would have no problem with that one.
All right.
But I have not tried that one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to... Next time.
Yes, next time.
Next
We'll
time.
go there.
We'll go there next
We'll go
time.
there, and we can go and see where St. Anthony was born. 'Cause
Oh, okay.
most people don't know this. They think St. Anthony of Padua, he's from Italy. No, he was born here in Lisbon.
And then he went to Italy.
And then he
after.
went to Italy.
Yeah.
And you go down into the bowels of the church, and you can see the place where he was supposedly born is right there.
Wow.
Who knows? You
Yeah.
know, right. All these legends that come.
Right.
But it's interesting, you know,
Yeah.
that St. Anthony, they lay claim to him. And he's not even the patron saint of Lisbon. I mean, this famous...
Interesting.
Everyone thinks he is. Everyone
But he's
thinks
not.
he's the patron saint. No, it's... See, don't ask me these.
Anton.
Don't ask me.
Isn't it Saint Anton? No.
No.
No, it
it's
isn't.
Vincennes, I think, or something like that.
Vincent?
Yeah, I think so.
Saint
Look,
Vincent.
don't quote me on this.
I know.
I
Okay.
am the farthest from a Catholic scholar
I
there
know.
is.
We're not going to go down our saints. I asked how many churches there were because everywhere we go, there's so many churches.
Yeah.
So I asked. We did a tuk-tuk tour this morning, and so because there was a lot to cover, and we did a tuk-tuk tour, and then we had it stop in a certain spot, and then we walked most of the other part of it, and which was really wonderful. And I asked one of the tour guide people, I said, how many churches in Portugal? And he's like, I think there's over 350 some churches. So, I mean, we cannot even touch all the information that goes along with it.
Right.
And we will not.
Yeah.
We will not.
How could you?
How could we? Exactly.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's enough with food, with like all the different foods and the specialty.
Let's do the important stuff first.
Yes, let's do the important stuff. Food.
Then we'll worry about the afterlife.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then we'll ask for forgiveness after. Yes.
So, this is exciting news. You have a cookbook coming out.
Yes.
In the very, very near future.
Yes.
And it's always interesting to me when I talk to people who have written cookbooks, because I've talked to a lot of folks, and inevitably what they say is, after they've written a cookbook is, well, I'll never do that again. You know, because it's it's like childbirth. It's such a huge undertaking, such a heavy lift.
It is.
And then a few years later, like my friend Katie Parla, who's a cookbook author, she's like, oh, I kind of forgot how hard it was, so I decided to do it again. Share your experience, please.
Oh, goodness. So I did my first cookbook, right?
Right.
Still a bestseller, still selling, still going crazy, which is... and I always had it, like I was always writing anyway. But I had to take some time for the series, the PBS series, Maria's Portuguese Table. So it took some years of concentrating just on that. I can't have too many plates flying in the air and trying to catch everything. I've got to pretty much kind of stay on top of it. So when I would be in between fundraising or in between filming and shooting and all of that stuff, while I had to do voiceovers, in between all that, I'd be cooking and writing. So for all that time that we did all of that, that's quite some years. This year, I had said, end of last year, this year, I said, okay, I'm going to take a little break from finding money for sponsors. I'm going to take a break. My producer wasn't happy I said that because he was ready to go back out and film some more. But I'm like, no. I need to do this. I need to do some time here. I need to collect all the recipes that I've been writing all these years. I need to see where I'm at. And when I didn't realize how many I had already written.
Oh, okay.
So I had enough. The second book is over 200 and some odd pages.
Okay.
And I have already enough for half of another book.
Wow.
That's how much I wrote.
So what's the title of this book?
It is called At My Portuguese Table. Yes, it's At My Portuguese Table.
Okay.
And because it's more of my family recipes. It's more of what I've been cooking these past some years. So first it was just going to be My Portuguese Table, and then after I'm like, no, it's at My Portuguese Table,
right?
Because again, that table is like the most important piece of furniture in any Portuguese home because everything is done around that table,
You've talked about your influence of your mom and your grandmother on this podcast before. Are there any recipes from them? I imagine that there must be.
Yes, there is.
Tell us about a couple of them.
Well, oh, goodness. All right. So I made this olive bread that is out of this world. I'll just share that. There is papas, which is a porridge that my grandmother would make for me that I share there. The book is dedicated to my grandmother. It's dedicated to her. And there is a cake that most people were not even aware of. And I read it. It was like a little note. And it was my mother's handwriting. And it was like 1 egg, 1 this, that. And, you mix it together. That's pretty much the recipe. And then in a little note, you would say, bolo de ovo, a cake of 1 egg.
Right.
And then another little note, almost like in parentheses, but not really. It was Salazar's cake.
Oh.
But you never called it that. You would call it the 1 egg cake.
Wow.
Because at that time you had rations.
Of course.
And so
folks should know when we talk about Salazar, he's the dictator.
He was the dictator.
That was in charge for 30-some years.
Yeah.
And
very austere years.
Yeah, very. And, that was overthrown in 1974. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
But
25 de Abril.
It was very tough times.
Yes. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, how come I never heard of this before? I've never heard of this before, Salazar's cake. So, of course, now I still have my aunt, Lalia, who's still with us, thank God. So I call her up and I'm like, Tia Lalia, this and this and this. She goes, oh, yes. She goes, where did you find it? And I said, I found it in my mom's notes. And so she's like, yeah. She goes, we would make it. It makes the tiniest cake. And I made it just for the sake of making it to see what it would taste like. And it actually tastes good.
Uh-huh.
And it would be perfect with like tea in the afternoon or coffee in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's in the book. It's
Perfect.
in the book.
And you tell that story?
And I tell the story.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what I love about your cookbooks is it's not just a cookbook, it's also you.
Yeah.
And your story, your story's your family.
Yeah, I just while I'm away, I've been hearing from my publisher, and she's like, "Oh, you've got Marianne Esposito who got a copy ahead of time, and she wrote a review on it. The food writer for USA Today and for the Providence Journal, Gail Champa, she got an
Gail, yeah,
and she wrote a beautiful review of it. I just found out yesterday that Publishers Weekly is reviewing my book. There are a few other big name reviewers that are reviewing my book, and all I can say is I am grateful for it all because they're giving me wonderful reviews.
That's awesome.
And they say the same thing. It's like we hearing it. Well, like I'm telling the story along with the food, and they feel like they're there with me, which is a wonderful thing.
Now, when is the book coming out? What's the date?
November 13th is the launch date, and so it's something where we were like, oh my goodness, we're going through a big time in November. November in the U.S. is going to be very important.
There's stuff happening.
There's stuff. I don't know if people know that, but we have an election going on. And so they had said before, they said, we like to launch, they like to launch on a Tuesday. So, So originally it was going to be the day of, our day of voting on the 4th. And I went, oh, no, we cannot launch.
Yeah.
No, that cannot happen.
Put it off a week.
Put it off a week. So they were doing it on the 12th. And then I looked at it and I went, but I really like the 13th. So, and they went, okay, we can change it to the 13th. So we are releasing on the 13th.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've already been told I've got to order more books already.
Oh, good.
Because all the, it's been on early release kind of early ordering, not early release. You can pre-order.
Pre-order, sure.
And
so, what usually you have like a book tour or signings and stuff like that. What are you planning?
Well, the first one we're going to do a very special one, even before it launches on the 13th. I don't know if this will be coming out before or after that, but that'll be November 1st.
Okay.
We're going to be doing a very special one with limited numbers of books at Bristol Community College. They're having me do a talk and a presentation, and then a private meeting with people who, I guess this is all for fundraising for the Zeiterion Theater in New Bedford. So for those that pay a little bit more of the ticket, they get to meet me and I get to sign their books at that time.
Nice.
But then right after, the Saturday right after Thanksgiving, I am doing, I think it's 11 to 2 at Portugalia Marketplace in Fall River. So we're going to be selling lots of books there. I know we are. I just know we are.
Awesome.
It's always an amazing time whenever I'm there doing any book signings. And it's just, I can't wait.
Well, congratulations on the book. I can't wait
thank
to
you.
read it myself
Thank you.
and try the one egg cake.
The one egg cake.
I'm going to be asking my friends.
AKA Boule de Salazar.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't wait to ask some of my Portuguese friends, who are of that age, if they're familiar with this or not.
They kept it very quiet.
Karen and I were just in the Azores.
Yes.
And loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our first time spending any significant amount of time there.
Yes.
So, of course, you're from the Azores, but you have a trip planned next year. Tell me about that a little bit.
I have a trip coming up in 3 weeks.
Oh.
Yes, I'm going in 3 weeks. I'm going back.
Oh, I thought it was next year.
Oh,
okay.
and then I have more next year planned. So I have to go to the Azores at least once or twice a year. I have to. There's no way around it. And what's funny is that there are that many people that want to come with me. So that I can show off my beautiful islands. I always call them mine.
Yeah, right. Well, they are.
They are mine. They are mine. I take ownership of them. But my heart is there. My heart is there.
And if folks want, so this one coming up in 3 weeks, this will be sold out.
Oh, it is. It's sold out in
But
in less than a month. It's sold out.
Yeah, but if people want to go next year, what is the?
They just need to go on my website.
Okay.
And I always announce it there, as well as my newsletter people, because I have to take care of my newsletter people.
Of course.
Yes, they're special, and I'm sorry. I know I'm special. You're special. We're all special, but those newsletter people, they're really
they're
special.
a little more special.
They're a little bit more. I'm sorry, but they are, because they just want to know everything that's going on and give me wonderful feedback. And it really is. I really have amazing followers and fans that are, it's almost like one big family.
Can I tell you about one of my favorite food experiences in the A's? And we had so many great food experiences, so many. But we were in a town called, I think, Salga, Salga, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
Little town. And we stumbled upon a cooperative bakery where everyone gets their bread from. And it's sort of industrial, but I have the feeling that...
is that the one that's Madre?
Yes.
Yes! So I read about her, and it's sourdough.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So we walk in there, and everyone's, all the locals are lined up to go in there. And I see on the wall, I'm looking at the prices and what the different ones are, and they have they called it a cornbread, Emilio de Pão de Milho.
Pão de Milho, yep.
And it was €1.80. And I'm like, oh, well, it must be a tiny little loaf. Let's get 2.
No.
So I'm like...
You should know by now. There is no such thing as little. No.
So she comes out with the first one, and it is massive. I'm like, oh, pardon.
Yeah, only one. Yeah.
I said, can you cut it, please? And because a lot of these places, they have the
machine
and you just put it in, and it comes out, it's all sliced. Because we're on the road.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, And so she goes into the back, comes back out with a bread knife, and is just like, here.
Oh, you slice it.
I'm the slicer now.
No, but I read about it, and I guess the thing is the whole thing with sourdough, and she's using the grains that are like local grains, and she's having it milled the proper way, like the old-fashioned way, because bread here in Portugal, for those that have bread anywhere outside of Portugal, in like in the United States, for example, if you're having bread in the United States, you kind of feel bloated, a little bloated. If you're saying, oh, I might be, gluten, intolerant, all of that stuff that comes into it. You're not going to get that here in Portugal, because it's not processed. The flour is not processed; it's milled. They're using the starter, the sourdough starter. That's that mother. That mother bread is after like the starter. It's that mother starter that she has, and it's actually good for your stomach. It's good for it's incredible,
and it was delicious.
Yeah,
and I really wanted to get the corn, because I was surprised. One of the things that surprised me about São Miguel in the Azores was how much corn is grown there. Because corn is not commonly grown here on the mainland in Portugal.
Right.
You rarely see sweet corn. And we had sweet corn while we were out there. We saw all this corn. At first I thought, oh, this must be for the cows, because there's all these cows.
No, they get them too. They get them too, but no.
But no, so I said, okay, we're going to get cornbread, because undoubtedly it's from the local corn here.
Yeah.
And it must have been, because it was fabulous.
Yeah,
it was
really
so
is.
It
It really is.
And that's just one of the many Azorean
many
foodie delights, because it is
so
spectacular.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? It really is.
It is special. I mean, I could go on. The cheese, the melon. Oh my God,
the melons are fantastic.
So good.
The pineapple is out of this world.
Pineapple.
You could eat the core. That's how good. That's how good the pineapple is.
Yeah.
And the pineapples that we have, they don't call them. They tell us that's not a pineapple. This is the pineapple. And they're right. They're right. You've never had any pineapple till you had that.
We lived in Hawaii for a little while, and they've got great pineapple in Hawaii, but I'm here to say the pineapple in the Azores is better.
Hands down.
It's better.
Hands down. Yeah.
It's so good.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Next year, my tour right now, they want me as many. What's funny is that every time they go, okay, Maria, do you want to do another tour? And then we work with Rhode Island PBS Travel Club and, and all of that. And I'll go and I'll look to Bob and I'll say, Bob, I don't know, will it sell? I mean, every time we put it out there, it sells out. It sells out every time. And it's like within 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's done. It's filled. And it's 34 people. It's crazy. So, so this time I said to Bob, okay, this is like my 4th tour. I don't, how many more people want to come with me? Oh, no, there's more. There's more people who want to come with me. And so next year, they're like, let's do another one to São Miguel, and let's do one to Terceira. So I'm going to do a separate one next year just to Terceira.
Okay.
So Terceira, now we're talking about the alcatra, the cooking with clay pots. We're talking about another type of, just everything. They were going to meet the gentleman who made the clay vessel pots for me, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I think now we got the bug for the Azores, because we can stop over at the Azores whenever we're going to the U.S. And I think next year it's going to be Teixeira. As much as I'd love to go back to São Miguel.
Yeah, you need to see the other islands. And so what we did when we were filming, which that was really lucky, we did in Terceira, then we went to we flew to São Jorge from Terceira. We went from Boston to Terceira direct. Then we took the plane, a smaller plane, and flew to São Jorge, which, a.k.a. the cheese island. It's got the topo and it's got the São Jorge cheese, which is has
so good.
Has the DOP of it. It's protected. It is incredible. But São Jorge, I can't wait till you go there, and then you're going to tell me. I felt like I was in another world.
Okay.
It felt very much like Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
Like I was in, it was unworldly like. And we were in a spot where the New York Times said was the most beautiful place in the world.
Oh, wow.
In the world.
Yeah.
And so we got to go there, and we got to have the clams that are only are available a certain time of the year, and we got there at that time. And we got to enjoy that, and we got to be in that area, that faja that they said was the most beautiful. And I sat there looking up and going, if you are not spiritual, you will be. Because it is out of this world.
Wow.
It is out of this world. So I can't wait till you go there. It's a big hiking. Do not drive it. Have someone drive it for you.
Okay.
A lot of steep roads, up and down.
Yeah, I had my fill of that in San Miguel.
Yeah, no. And that's good. That's an easy one in San Miguel compared to how it was in San Jorge.
Okay.
The first day Bob did it. Bob, how was that?
Frightening.
Okay, you heard it. You heard it from him. And the next day, he said.
All right, so as a disclaimer, I was driving a 9-passenger van, standard transmission. I might have felt different in the car, but the roads are crazy steep with cutbacks and hairpin turns and no guardrails. And I wanted to enjoy the trip.
Right.
And the driving, for me, was stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Maria Lawton
Yes.
and Bob Lawton, thank you so much for being here. This has just been great. I just love sitting here, enjoying a meal, and talking to you.
Yes.
We have to do this again sometime.
We do, honey.
So whether it's in Lisbon or maybe in Guimarães or maybe in the Azores or maybe back in Rhode Island or New Bedford or something.
Yes,
we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, yes.
Thank
or
you.
In Douro.
Or in Douro.
In Douro.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite new place.
Yes.
Thanks again. You have a great trip back.
You.
We'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon.
Okay, that's Maria and Bob Lawton, two great people. Such a fun time talking with them. You can pre-order Maria's new book at My Portuguese Table wherever you get books, and keep up with Maria and get info about her trips to the Azores at theazoreangreenbean.com. I've also got a link in the show notes. All right, that is it for this week. Next week, we're powering up with coffee from Colombia, from Seattle, from Vietnam, plus fancy coffee shops in New York City. Don't miss that. Until then, get over to destinationeatdrink.com. So much foodie travel stuff there. I just posted a story about the best cheesecake in the world. And New Yorkers, you're not going to be happy about it. Read that at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I also just posted a new video. This one is about a gorgeous island off the coast of Portugal. You got to see it. It's really quite stunning. You can check it out by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or go to my YouTube channel. That's probably easiest. You can go to youtube.com/destinationeatdrink946. Subscribe to the channel there, and you'll get all of my new videos. I post tons of videos there. And as if that wasn't enough, I also have a Substack. I just posted a story about how a toothpick almost derailed my vacation. You can subscribe to my Substack at destinationeatdrink.substack.com. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson. I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.